morning, Year 7. This morning, I'm going to talk to you about the power of knowledge and why knowledge is so important. The Greek philosopher Socrates said, "There is only one good, knowledge, and one evil, ignorance." So I want you to think about what that means. How is it that not being knowledgeable and being ignorant could ever equate to evil? What is evil about not being knowledgeable? And how does evil come from ignorance? One of my favourite books is a story by George Orwell called Animal Farm. Well, Animal Farm is an allegory. An allegory is a story or a poem, a picture, that has a hidden meaning to it. Usually it's a moral or a political point that the writer is trying to make. But this hidden meaning is under the surface. It has to be found. So I'm going to tell you the brief story of what Animal Farm is about. And we've got lots of copies of Animal Farm in school if you'd like to ever read it. So Animal Farm is set on Manor Farm. And Manor Farm is owned by a horrible farmer called Mr. Jones. And he doesn't treat the animals very well at all. And you can see him there. He doesn't look very nice at all, does he? And one day, the animals decide to have a meeting. And old Major, who's one of the oldest pigs on the farm and very knowledgeable, he addresses the animals. And they decide that they're going to stand up to Mr. Jones. There's going to be a revolution because there's lots of the animals. There's only one of him, and you can see them there. They decide to revolt against Mr. Jones because of the way he treats the animals. And so they run Mr. Jones off the farm, and they change the name of the farm from Animal Farm to Manor Farm. And the animals decide that they're going to work together and create this idyllic, perfect place where all the animals can enjoy life and have their own little bit of the farm. And they come up with some rules. They decide that all animals are equal and that humans are the enemy. Whatever goes on two legs are the enemy. Whatever goes upon four legs are friends. So all animals are friends. No animal should wear clothes. No animal should sleep in a bed. No animal should drink alcohol. No animal should kill another animal. And essentially, and most importantly, that all animals are equal. Now, unfortunately, old Major dies. The wise old pig who started the revolution dies. And another pig, Napoleon, seizes control of the farm. And he's a very, very strong-willed pig. And he wants to take control. And one of the hardest working animals on the farm is Boxer. And the pigs decide that the animals should work harder, that they should do more, and that they should get less food. And so slowly, over time, the pigs begin to change the rules on the farm. And all the animals below them are working really, really hard. And the Boxer, the horse, he can't read and he can't write. He doesn't know very much. And he works himself into the ground because the pigs tell him to. He works harder and he works harder. And he says, "I will work harder." Napoleon is always right. Napoleon is always right because he's clever. He knows things. Napoleon is always right. And so when he's told to work harder, he does it. Meanwhile, whilst all the other animals are suffering on the farm, they're getting less rations, they're getting less food, there's less equality. Meanwhile, the pigs enjoy a comfortable life on the farm. They start drinking. They start wearing human clothes. They even start walking around like humans. And so what's happened on the farm over time is actually the pigs have kind of become the new oppressors. They are the new Mr. Jones while the other pigs are suffering. And actually what happens is one day the pigs decide to change the commandments. Do you remember those things that were written up on the wall that the animals should do? It changes. And instead of saying all animals are equal, the pigs change it and they say all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. But the other animals can't read. They don't really understand that the rules have changed over time. They can't read, they can't write. Only the pigs can. And they've been ignorant. And they've allowed the pigs to seize control and change their lives for the worse. So, tutors, I'm going to ask you now to just pause the video, discuss with your tutor group. Do they know? What's the hidden meaning of this allegory? Do they know? Does your tutor group know? So hopefully you've come to the realization that the ignorance that the animals have, the fact that they can't read and they can't write, it means that they are the ones that are open to being manipulated. And it's evil. There's an evil, isn't there, on the farm? And so how is ignorance evil? Well, we've seen our own examples of how ignorance can lead to terrible consequences. And ignorance in society, over the last year, we've seen it played out on our screens, haven't we? We've had the people that have claimed that COVID is a lie, haven't we? That all those people that have unfortunately and tragically lost their lives in hospital, that's all a fake. The government has made it all up. We had the Trump supporters who believed in some way that President Trump stole the election. It was fraud and that actual Joe Biden shouldn't be president. And Trump himself, a bit like the pigs on the farm, has been able to convince people that he should be carrying on as president in the face of what has actually been the true democracy and decision of the American people. And then, of course, in the Black Lives Matter movement, some people arguing that it's not Black Lives Matter, it's all lives matter. But of course, those people have completely missed the point of the movement. And we've had far right groups clashing with police, racist groups who are ignorant, clashing with police about what that movement is all about. So ignorance leads to evil, doesn't it? And if you're ignorant, you're open to these kind of manipulations. So knowledge is power. And when I delivered this assembly last year to the year groups above you, I got the whole year group to chant, knowledge is power. So I'm hoping I can imagine you all now chanting it in the hall. So maybe you can say it to yourself, knowledge is power. There's a lovely quote from Dr. Seuss. I don't know if you know Dr. Seuss. The more that you read, the more things you know, the more that you learn, the more places you'll go. The more that you can educate yourself, the more you know. Not only are you going to be a more interesting person, not only are you going to be less open to others trying to take advantage of you, but you're going to go so much further in life. The more that you know, the more places you'll go. The wise words of Dr. Seuss. So, how do we help you in school know more? Well, you've got your knowledge organizer. And these are given to you every half term. And in the knowledge organizer, it's all the most important information, the most important knowledge for that term. And you should be learning from it for half an hour every single day for all your subjects, so that by the end of the term, you know everything in that knowledge organizer. But some people, unfortunately, they leave their knowledge organizers in the bag. They don't refer to them. They don't learn them. And that knowledge is being wasted. That knowledge is sitting in your bag and not in your mind and not in your brain. So I want you to really think about how you use your knowledge organizer next term. And on the 8th of March, when you all come back to school, we're going to be providing you with the new knowledge organizer. Now, there's some strategies that you can use for learning and to help yourself know more. And there's 6 of them, but today I just want to talk to you about one of them. So it's called retrieval practice. So retrieval practice, to retrieve means to bring back, doesn't it? So it's to bring information from your brain so that you can use it. Okay. So it's about looking at your class notes, covering them up. Do you remember them, writing them down and checking? And you might know this from primary school. Look, say, cover, write, check. Look at your notes, look at the knowledge organizer, say it to yourself, cover it up, write it down, and then check that you've got it. Now I'm going to ask your tutor again in a second to pause the video, because here is a page from last term's science knowledge organizer. So what I would like you to do is your tutor is now going to give you about 3 or 4 minutes to learn the information in red. So you need to practice looking, saying, cover, writing, and checking. And then your tutor is going to hide this, and he's going to ask you questions, and he's going to see how many people have learned the information and see how well you've done it. How did you get on? Hopefully that process has been useful and you've been able to learn some of that. And that's how, over time, you can learn more by yourself. The final strategy that I want to talk to you about is called interleaving. Now, what you don't want to do is stay on one topic the whole time. You want to switch between them. So maybe you do 15 minutes of English, then go to 15 minutes of maths, and then 15 minutes of science. Why do you do that? Well, if you stay on one topic, you're training your brain to be good in one area and then move to another area, perhaps the next day. If you can move between topics in over shorter periods of time, you're teaching your brain to be more flexible. Your brain can switch between maths and science and English seamlessly and really, really well. So interleaving is another strategy, switching between ideas during your learning. So those 2 techniques, I want you to, this term, when you get your new knowledge organizer, to make sure that you're doing your retrieval practice, your look, cover, look, say, cover, write, check, and that you're mixing up your knowledge recall. And if you do that, you're going to learn and know so much more. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Have a lovely weekend. We're looking forward to seeing you back on the 8th of March. And you'll get your new knowledge organizer, and let's see who can really, really employ many of these techniques to learn as much as they can.